I've debated for a while over making a reaction video. I shouldn't say this is an actual reaction video. This is more of a response. I know that no one's probably going to watch this, but I've recently seen a reaction from many YouTube channels and some of Amberlynn actual videos. Now, I have been following Amberlynn's quote-unquote haters for quite a long time now. I also have watched a few of her videos just to see if those were edited in any way, to make the situation appear more complicated than it really is. Well, number one, I haven't seen a great deal of editing at all, other than to speed up things to try to not get copyrighted, essentially. I want you to know, Amberlynn, that we have a lot in common. For example, I like crazy mugs. This is a giraffe. You can't see the front, and I'm having trouble holding it, but this is his tail. If it hasn't become apparent to you already, Amberlynn and whoever else sees this, I do have a lot of health issues myself. I am diagnosed with anxiety, depression, codependency personality disorder, as well as a brain injury, and that drastically impacts multiple subsets of my life. I am unable to move unassisted. I have a wheelchair and a walker. I have actually commented on several videos that I am wheelchair bound and that I do not have the luxury to just change a couple things about my life and get over my disorder, because unfortunately it is in my brain. And I guess that's where a lot of the criticism comes from. For those of us who are forever unhealthy, and no matter what we do, we see it as a kind of a slap in the face, because the reality is, if you keep going to counseling and stop eating Cheetos, you're probably going to be in a much better state than you are now. I commend you for going to counseling. I really do. I also wanted to point out that in the state where I live, and possibly other states as well, there's a program where the counselor will come to your house. So because I have anxiety and my brain injury makes it impossible for me to sense depth perception, and so I can't drive a car in a safe way, I have someone that comes to my house and sits on my porch and talks to me in an actual therapy setting. So going from there, I think that's something you should look into. I think it would help. That way you wouldn't necessarily need a ride from Becky or from Eric if you wanted to go somewhere. That's another thing I wanted to point out. You're very lucky to have a woman in your life who loves you. You are. There are many people in this world that don't have people who love them or partners that are dedicated to them and would help them get around and would help them to obtain things they need or want or take them places. And that's something that you really need to be grateful for. She's not a chauffeur. She's not a caretaker. She is, at the end of the day, the woman who loves you and is devoted to you. So I think that's where some of the criticism comes from, that maybe you kind of seem to be the dominant one in the relationship. And I do understand that there's dominant and submissive roles in most relationships. And no, I'm not talking about anything that would get you demonetized. I mean, seriously, there's usually a alpha, if you will, in most relationships. I really do commend you for going to therapy, but I think if you wanted to take a little more responsibility for yourself, or access therapy on a regular basis where you wouldn't necessarily need someone to drive you everywhere and stuff, it would be beneficial to look into a program where they could maybe come to your house. And if right now the symptoms of your eating disorder are affecting your mobility, which you've claimed that they are on a regular basis. Pardon me, I haven't had my coffee yet. But if you are experiencing those symptoms, there are ways to get that so that somebody can come to your house and talk to you. And I mean, that would make it a little bit easier on your roommates. The thing there would be, though, that you'd have to be accountable for that. But I have my counselor's phone number, so we can text and call if need be. There are times I will give her a call if I need her, like at night. I do have anxiety. It's much worse at night, because then all the sensory stimulation stops, and there's me just thinking about my day or my situation or something that's been bothering me quite a bit. So that would be something to look into. I do commend your roommates for going to college a lot. I think that's great. I think that college, for me, was the real turning point in terms of getting to where I wanted to be. So I think, but that's where I wanted to come in. Like, I will always be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life until I'm dead. My wheelchair and my walker are the two main things that enable me to get around. And if I don't have my wheelchair and my walker, I gotta crawl on the floor. This isn't a choice. And I think the frustrating part for people is you have the resources to go get counseling. You have the resources to maybe go to an addiction specialist, because I genuinely believe you when you say you're addicted to food. So you have the capabilities to get it. You just haven't. And I know it's terrifying. I do. And I really honestly think I should say thank you in a way, because you've actually inspired me to go to the doctor and go to counseling and stuff. Take my health situation a little more seriously. I was actually drastically underweight before I started going to your channel and stuff. And I was able to then say, well, okay, I want to be better. So I'm going to go to the doctor, and I'm going to go to the therapist, and I have. I'm also going to college right now. I'm pursuing a graduate degree in communications, and I think it's hard because we feel that you're not doing what you... And I'm not saying this as a hater. I genuinely care about you. I care about most everyone. I really honestly do. And I think that you, as a person, deserve better. You deserve to be able to spend time with your girlfriend, to do things together. If you're talking about you want to buy a house, that's awesome. Go buy a house. You've mentioned getting married. Get married if you want. That's wonderful. Go do it. You deserve to have a good life. And I think a lot of it is fear. I know it was for me. I was always afraid that people were going to judge me, the way that my disability impacts me, the way I look. Some of my brain injury, I can't usually read social cues that well. I have a hard time in social situations. I was very much afraid of having to interact with other people. And to me, it's almost like a drive when I see you that I want to do better. And because you're not where you need to be. And I'm not saying that as criticism, but as a person who understands what it's like to be afraid of being judged and of being ridiculed for some reason, that honestly I believe God put me in the situation. I didn't choose this. And I don't think you chose to be addicted to food or to have bipolar disorder or anything like that. That is never a choice. But at the end of the day, you need to make a decision about how you're going to handle it. Because there's a lot of people, myself included, who are behind you, who want to see you do well, who want to see you and Becky and Eric and Ricky all be happy. There are people in this world who genuinely care. And just because sometimes we don't tell you what you want to hear doesn't mean we don't care. I saw your video that you put out that you were leaving YouTube. Number one, I'm glad you didn't leave YouTube. I think that's a really, really positive thing, because if you feel you're getting love from it, you feel you're getting love because it's just like any other type of job. I work from home, and there's a lot of bullying, and there can be bullying, and there can be miscommunications and misunderstandings in that setting too. I get it. I am currently a content creator for a online writing website. I'm also an intern and an online college student, so I do understand how, it can feel in a virtual environment just as bad, if not a little bit worse, than sometimes a regular environment, because number one, you don't have communication, body language, or tone. And number two, it's difficult to be able to always read a situation, because there's there can be a lot of stress in a workplace or in a situation where maybe you don't feel the best about yourself. That's a high stress situation, and people are adding to it. I get it. I'm not by any means encouraging you to leave YouTube or anything like that. I'm just saying that I do understand it, and I understand that a lot of people have a hard time, articulating themselves. Or, in my case, I have a really hard time reading social cues. So, I might be very much appreciated, and because certain things I'm looking at a certain way, I don't feel appreciated. And it's not my fault, and it's not your fault, but it's also not the other people's fault. It's no one's fault. It's just a massive miscommunication, mind demonetization word that you're going through. And I get it. I totally get it. I do. And coming from a place of respect, that you feel like you're maybe being disrespected because of your size, I understand it. I'm insecure too. When people see my tiny frame and my gargantuan muscle arms from having to constantly use my upper body, it makes me feel self-conscious. I've had people tell me, you don't comb your hair because my hair is frizzy, and they think that I just sort of roll out of bed and don't even bother to try to comb it. I get it. That isn't true. I know people have said things to me like, well, you could just walk up 2 flights of stairs if you really wanted to. No, I can't without becoming exhausted. My muscles can't handle it. I get it. I get that it's a problem. But you can't read into it as you want to quit. The other thing I wanted to say, frankly, is you are loved. People do care about you. People want to see you do well. I would love to see you take whatever steps you feel are right for you. I'm not going to sit here and say you need weight loss surgery or you need to follow a weight loss doctor's guide or whatever, but I will say that when I went to the doctor and we went over, I wasn't drinking enough water during the day, I would have a bottle of water for like a 12-hour day when I was at school and work on my computer. And that would be my water, and I would eat maybe like a granola bar in the morning. And that's not good. Your body isn't metabolizing things the way you need to. Your tummy isn't going... There's going to be fat on your tummy. Your tummy's never going to shrink because that's the most common place that a woman stores her weight. When, I'm not trying to be weird or anything, but I did go up a cup size after I started drinking more water and eating good food. My body started doing what it needed to do. So I feel that if that's taking a weight loss doctor's advice, if that's going to a nutritionist, if that's going to a weight loss surgeon, but I also know that from watching documentaries and stuff that a weight loss surgeon isn't going to do surgery on you if you're too heavy. So if currently you're over the limit, you do need to lose some weight. And your body's going to start doing what it needs to if you treat it like it's actually the place where you're living. You're living inside of your body. You can move to Georgia, you can move to Kentucky, you can move to Florida, you can do whatever you want. But every single day you wake up, your soul is inside of this body. I could physically get on a plane and move anywhere tomorrow, and my soul would be in my body. I have to take care of this body. I have one. So unless I take the steps to take care of it, I'm never going to do it. And I really, really commend you for going to counseling and getting yourself together, but I wanted to give a little bit of advice. Again, from a place of love, not a place of putting you down by any means. I do honestly care about you, and I'm very, very happy that you have people in your life who love you and a way to support yourself and your fur babies. And that's amazing, but you need to put yourself first, because if tomorrow, your whole life changes, you're in a bad place. If tomorrow, in the mindset of if tomorrow YouTube completely falls apart, there's no way you're going to make a living. And so you need to put those things in mind. If something happens where tomorrow, YouTube isn't available, or if tomorrow maybe your roommates want to, buy their own house, or they want to move somewhere or something, you're not going to have as much of a comfort as you do now. And so you need to put that in mind. I know for me, someday my parents want to move. And so I had to make a decision. I was going to go to college. I was going to get internships. I was going to find a job. I was going to go to counseling and go to life skills training, because if tomorrow my parents decide, hey, we want to move to Florida, that's great, but I don't necessarily want to go with them. And even if I did, it would have to be a certain type of house for me to live there comfortably. So I need to think about not only myself, but about the people I love, and saying, okay, they deserve this because it's what they want. So you need to think about the things that Becky wants too, because you love her, and the things that Eric and Ricky want because they're your friends. Because it's so much easier to think about just you, but you're going to have a problem if you can't start thinking about them. And the other thing is, if you can't put other people first, especially when you're in a situation where you're a little less capable. Speaking as a woman who's disabled, if you're a little less capable, you're not going to have that. You're going to need people on your side, because you can't just hop in the car and go buy yourself groceries, obviously. Which I'm not judging, I can't either, but it's not just about you. And in that scenario, you have to be giving to another person. So I think the best thing for you to do is realize that if you want to, that you love Becky and you need to be her partner too, and you need to take care of her too. And the best way for you to do that is to continue going to counseling, see some doctors. I do understand how scary seeing a doctor can be. I have to go to a doctor every 4 months to get shots in my body that are basically poison, and I have to make sure that I can breathe for like a few days after that when I go home. If my anxiety flares up and I start having trouble breathing or numbness, which are common symptoms of a panic attack, I genuinely think I'm going to die when I leave. That is not okay, and that is terrifying. But speaking as someone who feels that and understands how scary getting the treatments you need can be, please do it. And I'm going to put this out here right now. If you ever want to DM me and talk, that's fine. I get it. Just please take care of yourself. I mean that from the bottom of my heart, that I want you to be healthy, and I'm sure a lot of other people do too. I know you deserve happiness because every human being does. And I know you've done some not so great things in the past, but I haven't either. I've made mistakes. I've hurt people. Everybody does. But you need to continue to grow. And I'm so proud of you for taking those steps to go to therapy now. But please continue to grow and be better, because you deserve better, and Becky deserves to be in a happy relationship with you for a long time. The two of you can make this work and can be happy if you really want to. Please keep going.